Oh. Oh.
Hi, Maggie. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Hi, Jared. How you doing?
Doing good. So, just chilling all Max and Rex and all cool.
Oh, I'm gonna get it wrong. Hanging out on the corner playing. Nope, I've got it wrong. I swear I know it. You caught me in the middle, and I can't pick up the thread, man.
Shooting some b-ball outside the school.
Cool.
Good.
Trying to. Oh, seriously, when did I lose all the? Hold on, you got a little fuzzy there.
So,
Yep, now you've got me down a rabbit's hole there, Jared. Yeah.
sorry.
Do you have a separate, do you have something besides for the roster, for the membership roster, aside from the people that have signed up through the link you put on the website?
I do, however, I think it's the same one you got.
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I was looking through my email trying to figure out, like, because Steve gave me a paper list that he'd gone through and crossed off people that he knew had moved out, and so I was updating what we had, and then I looked at it and I realized, like, the lists were not the same, but the one that he had that was printed out was much older, and so then I started looking, like, because I couldn't remember if I had printed that for him and where did it come from, and when I went back and looked, I couldn't find like an email or something that from which I had gotten that list to start with, but I know that I had the last big review I did of it was right before the spring elections last year, which I think is the only time that I did anything with it. And the list I have from then is just the same one that I have now, just updated and modified. And the one that he had that was a paper copy had like a lot of old information on it. Like he's still on that one, he's still at his old house, not on Merrill, and Sean Wright is over on Elm, and so I don't know where he got that one from. I'm really confused. I was like, I thought I had given it to him, but I don't know where I got it if I did.
The document I have is called Vine Neighborhood or VNA List.
VNA list.
And it's got 137 people on it.
Do you mind, is it a Google Doc or an Excel sheet? What is it?
It's an Excel sheet in Google.
Do you mind sharing it with me?
Yeah, and it
I'll
looks
combine it and
kind of jank. Oh, no.
Yeah.
I can certainly share it to you.
Okay. Cool. Thanks, Jared. Just, it doesn't have to happen right now. Just, I've been, that's been one of the things I've been working on this last few days.
Mm-hmm. You're Margaret Wise, right?
Correct.
At Gmail?
Correct.
Do we all have cool nicknames? What's my nickname? Steve Stupid or something?
Would someone be willing to pop over to our Facebook and test out the link I posted to the live stream? Make sure that is up and running. I hope I got all the settings right on this stuff and created a channel under the events email. So
Perfect.
that we should be live. Chris Moore, you look a lot like Laura Satino tonight.
I'm not muted. I log into Chris's because Chris has a business one. So when I'm having happy hour with my sisters, I could be on for longer than 45 minutes. I didn't even realize that until you just said that. That's really funny.
I like it.
I mean, Chris is like a board meeting champion too. So like, I feel like if I can embody any of that, like sitting on board spirit that he's embodied for such a long time, that's only a good thing for me.
There may actually be a rule that Chris has to be present at every single board meeting going on in Kalamazoo too.
Exactly, so. Right. So part of him has to be here a little bit, right?
Right.
Steve, I'm surprised you can show your face to me after insulting me on those emails.
Well, sorry.
Behind the mask of Zoom's protective bubble, though, of course.
Right.
I know, I almost walked past his house, but I couldn't restrain myself, you know?
I just met your neighbor a couple houses down. She's a writer for that magazine that used to be 269. I don't remember what it's called now.
Which neighbor?
To the south with the blue shutters and the dog that's on the front lawn occasionally. Let's see, what is Trisha Dunham.
On Oak or Vine? Or Oak on
Oak, yep. Just a few,
right.
I think maybe 3 houses down from yours.
Huh.
Approximately 38 feet. No.
Interesting. I don't think did she know me?
Oh God, no.
Huh.
No, I didn't
way
know.
down Oak.
We talked. I was being interviewed, and then I had to stop the interview so I could go pick a kid up from school. And she had told me where she lived, and I drove right past it as I was going by. So,
Oh, which way down Oak? Towards Vine or?
no, towards south. Yep, south towards Wheaton.
Blue shutters.
Mm-hmm.
This is when we realized this person was a ghost that Steve was talking to the whole time. Yeah, I was talking to your neighbor for a long time. We had a great conversation. Steve, no one's lived in that house for 50 years.
What?
Huh.
That makes sense. That tracks.
Interesting. Yeah, I'll have to walk past that house and see if I can see her.
Yeah.
Do a little neighborhood creep.
May the circle be unbroken. I give this to you.
If I might ask the person also known as iPhone to identify yourself. I think we might have quorum, but I'm not sure who that is. They could be away from screen at the moment. Although I will say, since Aaron Bensinger has provided an update to need to abstain from September activities, I have 2 notifications of other folks that won't be able to make it. I think it was Aaron, actually both Aaron's and Eddie will not be joining us tonight. Bree is on a leave of absence, which actually, if we were to round that out as active members with 2 abstentions currently, I think quorum would put us at 5 out of, oh no, I think we're still at 6 out of 11.
Sarah, I'm on.
There's Jeremy. Hi, Jeremy. Thank you.
I don't know if I'm the hidden device.
I think you're the hidden device. I think you're iPhone.
I was trying to send the YouTube link to tentative or prospective new board members.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So I'm
Good,
guessing that means that our live stream has gone up successfully. And we're going to work on transferring all of our live streams over to that channel and talk a little more about what that might mean for making things a little bit easier for us organizationally. I think we can go ahead and call to order. It is, I have 5:35. And we have quorum. Though this is looking a little like an executive committee meeting right now.
Too bad Jeremy is the iPhone or son of Steve Jobs.
I wouldn't want to be Steve Jobs as much as Tim Cook.
All right, you can be Tim Cook's son.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I think that as a sort of takeaway from the conversations coming out of our last meeting, like to try out tonight Sans timekeeper, and just kind of ask everybody to try to please be mindful of taking space and sharing space when it comes to comments. I'm gonna have to apply that to myself most of all, of course, and try to keep things concise. And Steve also has to have a hard out deadline about 7 o'clock or just before. So we're gonna try to be respectful of time tonight and also try not to vilify anyone and make them police us in a really uncomfortable position. So we do have our illustrious minute taker with us this evening, and we spoke a little bit about maybe trying to streamline that responsibility as well, and kind of make it a little bit easier on current and future secretary roles by making greater use of the fact that we are now archiving our meetings in this YouTube channel for posterity, and then kind of maybe eliminating the need as much for detailed minutes, which are a little bit of a relic of the past in some ways at this point, and really just keep them to decisions, action items, needed information for reference, for future reference. So attendance, however you would like to do it.
Okay. I'm going to do attendance, then I'll do land acknowledgement, if that's okay with everybody.
Thank you.
So I will do my old standby of, I see Brendan Maloney, I see Sarah Ruggles, I see Jared Sellner. I know, and he's labeled as Sasquatch for those of you watching. And I see Jeremy Terpinger, who is labeled as iPhone for everyone. And I see Laura Satina, who is labeled as Chris Moore for everyone. Now you have all the backstory. I am here. My name is Margaret Wilson. Our staff is here. His name is Steve Walsh, even though he's labeled Vine Neighborhood Association. And the
And
Vine
I'm gonna
Neighborhood
come up with a pseudonym and change my name pretty soon too.
Yes.
Good.
I know. I should have left myself as Zanaya just to go with the theme. So the Vine Neighborhood Association would like to acknowledge that we gather on the land of the Council of the Three Fires, the Ojibwe, the Odawa, and the Potawatomi. The indigenous nations of the Great Lakes regions are also known as the Anishinaabe, or original people. Their language is Anishinaabe-Moan. We acknowledge the enduring relationship that exists between the people of the Three Fires and this land. And with that, we will move on to our first order of business.
Our consent items, the most always like exciting, fun part of the evening. I do have a update, I guess, might as well just update it on the agenda. And I need to mention that in spite of making like pages upon pages of and digital notes upon notes of the draft of the mission statement, I may have fudged some of the wording in that. I'm guessing though that because everybody probably doesn't have a printed version of this, maybe we will go into detail about that when we get to that. But I want to come back to that as it appears in your agenda. It may be a little off. The agenda itself, any additions or corrections or updates for this agenda that we have, which is pretty slimmed down and a little bit left intentionally broad for a few reasons we can talk about later. Or we have the minutes from our August meeting, which was actually our September 1st meeting, as well as executive committee meeting minutes that I kind of had to scramble together into a very, very bare bones version of minutes from that. So any questions or corrections for those or our financial statements? And if not, a potential motion to approve our consent items to put them on the books.
I so move.
Thanks, Jeremy. A second?
Second.
That was Laura. Thank you. I'm gonna say any opposed. That's all set. And Brendan has offered to lead us through a check-in tonight so that we can get an idea of how everybody's doing.
Yeah, we're on the check-in.
That brings us to our check-in.
Perfect. So the check-in for tonight is favorite fall moment, or what are you gonna carve a pumpkin this year? And then the last thing that you have to weigh in on is hot chocolate or apple cider. You have to choose sides.
All
Right,
Do you want to tag somebody, Brendan?
Yeah, Steve, go ahead.
Oh, my favorite fall thing. Well, I'm a hot chocolate person. I'll put that out there right away.
Ooh.
And my favorite fall thing is just, I think, probably the changing of the seasons and the leaves and the air getting cooler. And I like to try to be out at Circle Pines this time of year. It's beautiful out there, so I enjoy this time of year.
Cool. Sarah?
Oh gosh, fall. This year's gonna be a trickier one because it's really just feeling more like the introductory act to winter, which I I don't know if there are any winter lovers out there left in Michigan at this moment. Like, is that really something people are looking forward to right now? I don't know. But fall itself is great. I am biased because my birthday's in October, so I am admittedly looking forward to that, in spite of the fact that it's probably not really gonna be much of one, but it's a good excuse to practice self-care and self-love. So I really think birthdays are great holidays. There's a lot of crappy holidays that we celebrate in this country, and I think birthdays are one of the best ones that we celebrate. Like the birth of each other. How good of a reason is that to celebrate? The birth of ourselves. You know, loving yourself. That's super important. So also apple cider all the way. Apple cider all the way. Yeah. I'm lactose intolerant, so I'm obviously also biased in that, but definitely apple cider.
Maggie?
I love them both, but if I had to pick a favorite, I'd go with hot chocolate. Because who knows? I love. Sorry about your dairy, but I love me some chocolate.
Delicious.
Pumpkins are always crazy around here. We usually have one pumpkin for every person in the family, and we do like a whole art project of like designing your pumpkin face before we start cutting it and pulling guts out, like 5 pumpkin guts. That's a lot of guts, and you're usually like up to your elbows in it. I love it. And maybe because I have spent a long time of my adult life and my life as a kid as a student, I really love fall. It always feels like new beginnings, and it's always crisp, and it just always feels really good to me. I know that in the cycle of the year, it's kind of a winding down time, but it always feels like new beginnings to me. And I love the way that trees drop their leaves, kind of like middle-aged drunken women at the end of the long night at the bar. That's always what it makes me think of. And there's just something joyous about that. Like just being in the age where you can own yourself. I don't know. Maybe that's TMI, but there you go.
All right, Laura.
That was an awesome answer. As a writer, I'm like, that's the best metaphor I've ever heard. I want to like write that down. Let's see. Yeah, apple cider, also can't do dairy. And like, there's just a lot of dairy things that like you can do if you're non-dairy, but then there's a lot that you don't bother because they're never as good. And I think hot chocolate like might be one of those things. I don't carve pumpkins because I'm a weenie. And when I was a kid, the like inside smell of a pumpkin like was awful. Like the smell and the texture. I was like a big texture kid when I was younger. And so like, even today, I'm just kind of like, no, thank you. I will put them whole on my porch in like the hippie fashion, and that will be enough. And then my favorite thing about fall is, well, my anniversaries are all in there. So my partner and I, our dating anniversary and our marriage anniversary is in the fall. So we usually go up north at the end of October, and it's delightful. There's nobody there. And it's like very pristine and beautiful. I also like the like kind of like October gets all the glory with the trees, but like November, when it's like everything's kind of like naked and extra cold and clear, is like the best.
All right, Jeremy.
So 2 of my things, I guess, go hand in hand. My favorite part is eating an entire Costco pumpkin pie to myself in pretty much one sitting. And then along the same accord, I like to drink a whole gallon of apple cider in one sitting and then essentially undo everything I just did. It's a creative process that I've gone through annually for several moons.
It will be unbroken.
Yeah, right. You know, I hate to break tradition, and really, that's one of the things. I forget every year why I shouldn't do that. And pumpkins, I usually put very not rare but exotic pumpkins on my porch, and I have never had one last long enough on my porch to carve because they get stolen. So I've taken to an old Dutch tradition of carving turnips in the original jack-o'-lantern fashion. So you might see a carved turnip on my porch because nobody has an idea what to do with that.
Oh, Jared. Is he there, Jared?
Back squat.
Yeah, I'm here today.
Is
I like cider mainly, and I don't know. The fall is no different than the summer. You just can't go to the lake as much.
All right. So I'm on board with the cider train. And I think cider won the round robin here. So for all you hot chocolate lovers. And then my favorite thing is just changing the weather. I like the cooler weather, and I feel like it's just more pleasant for me. So. And then as our suggestion for our next topic, for our next meeting, is how people plan to social distance while it gets cold or inside. So, because I feel like some good tips for that would be needed. So,
Appreciate it.
cool.
Yeah, I've been talking about that nonstop. Just like as soon as I had to put a scarf on, I was like, what about outside? What are we gonna do? That was a fun one. Thank you, Brendan. That kind of just like honestly just turned my mood up a couple notches. So that was really
Cider.
nice. Apple cider. Just think about that. And also it won. Yeah. Nothing, no, hot chocolate. All chocolate's amazing, actually. Well, our agenda is maybe, as you've noticed actually over the last couple months, reformatted a little bit, but also what I've noticed, and maybe after the fact a little bit, is that I think in what seems to be both kind of a product and a prompt for what I think we all can acknowledge are shifting focuses of ourselves, foci of ourselves as an organization. Our agendas have kind of transformed a little bit in line with that. And I think we can all observe that our priorities and our items that we want to devote time to have kind of evolved a little bit over this time. What I think, I think it's actually just, I just want to acknowledge that. I just want to acknowledge that even though we don't have these agendas loaded with guest speakers, obviously, tons of events that are going on and updates about those things, you know, in this time that we're living in, we are devoting our energies in a little bit more focused way to a few very important objectives. And I had to kind of remind myself to feel good about that and not to kind of sell ourselves short or feel like we're not accomplishing enough, which I think is just like the constant feeling of being involved in a nonprofit. So first up is just maybe just a quick mention, but what could be a small discussion of the fact that as I solemnly swore earlier this year, we're kind of approaching the time limit of completing a long overdue and incredibly important and well deserved and necessary performance review for our amazing executive director. And so I wanted to kind of bump the remaining work session topics that we kind of already put into a hierarchy of a time frame at our last meeting out by 1 month, and make use of our October meeting to devote that to a work session to get that performance review underway and or to nearing completion. And so before just putting that on the EC agenda for October and inviting everyone to join us for that, of course, but knowing that only those people who have maybe the extra energy to involve themselves in that process, I wanted to allow for a small conversation about what people's thoughts about that process are. I want to make that a really wide open question. what, if you're not in that room with us, in that Zoom room with us next month, what are the things that you want to make sure get brought up? And what are the things that you would like to see as maybe we undertake a different from your standard check boxes on a scale of 1 to 6 kind of worksheet that a lot of employers tend to, I think, just use as sort of a bit of a cop out for that process. I think it's a really valuable process. I think people, you know, we devote so much of our lives to our jobs, so much of our lives. And, you know, getting feedback, honest feedback, and especially getting positive reinforcement for your accomplishments, those are super important to wanting to ever do your job. So a little bit of time in our agenda. I'm going to shut up for a little while and hope that people will contribute some thoughts about that.
I think one thing to think about is the possibility of including other staff as well. Do we want to, or do we not want to ask them to come? And I think it's a good opportunity for us to have feedback about the board as well. You know, it's kind of I think reviews go both ways. And so as many people from the board that could attend, would be great. And we only have 9 minutes remaining, so.
Say, in general, right now, so the way that our board structure is, the way most board structure, the My Neighborhood Association only really we only have one employee that directly reports to us, and then Steve is responsible for managing all of their employees. And so the way I've understood in the past is Steve should be carrying out reviews with Jen, our one other employee, and I guess Nicole, also our employee. And then we review Steve, correct?
Right. Yeah. Yeah, actually, I think that kind of prompts me to want to, I think, clarify, Brendan, I think maybe what you were getting at was just whether or not to involve Jen in the process of Steve's evaluation, which actually, you know, that's not like an industry-wide standard to involve employees that report to a manager in the process of evaluating the manager. But it's something I've really thought about for years, would be just like, what if we did create a new looking process where, you know, I think we all know, we've all had bosses before, and we've all known that, like, if we were really able to give feedback about our bosses that was heard, you know, and considered, like, how valuable would that be? And I feel like we're an organization that could probably take it if we were to brave those uncharted territories. So Brendan, is that maybe what you were kind of getting at?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. I think any feedback is good, and yeah.
Thank you. And then also, I did talk with Steve to kind of put it on his radar already, and also kind of at the same time making sure that we're taking into consideration that Jen's performance review is coming up due as well, and getting all of those completed before the election, before the holidays, et cetera, is a priority across the board, I think. No pun intended. But yeah, I guess I wanted to hear that. Those are all really good suggestions and good points. Any more ideas like that? Just like, I think we can all be wide open to re-envisioning the process as something that we think is actually going to be useful.
Just after those emails, I can't wait to give Steve some feedback.
Some feedback. Thank you. Got that to look forward to.
what's something about a performance review that you have had in your job that you can remember was the best part or the worst part?
I always found it kind of frustrating that there would be this push to check the box of finding something to criticize you for. That always bothered me. Like, got to dig down sometimes and find something to give you, like, it's a requirement. You must be given constructive criticism, so we will find something. That always bothered me. So I'd be happy if we gave feedback that was actually useful and not just derived from a pre-existing idea of what it needed to look like, I guess.
Totally agree. I've always found that checkbox, or that kind of de facto checkbox that we all know is there in the room with us, to be also kind of a often shady way of limiting employee increases by, you know, not giving them too high. Let's not rate them just too high or we won't be able to afford it. Well, quite honestly, we all know we're pretty limited in what we can afford as an organization anyway. So I love remembering that constructive criticism is really the only type of valid criticism. There is no other criticism that is useful. That's it.
I just don't like how awkward they are, and like there's some points when you don't really know how you stand, and I don't think it should be the point of a review to like let go of someone or like super criticize someone, because I think that person should know if they're making a mistake to begin with. So what I enjoy is more of just a conversation around, you know, maybe things that aren't brought up so often and things like that. And a bigger conversation on how to be better or what to work on. So
Yeah, I think a lot of, I mean, we've talked about this topic for a while, and I think a lot of, kind of building off what Brendan's point, a lot of what we need to do is to do a better job finding out how we can help our staff do better jobs, how we can meet, do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like that's kind of part of the point for us, is to have an open communication and not just like, what might we expect from them, but like, because I don't think we have like a ton of structural points where we say to our staff, what do you need from us? They're always coming to us saying, I need this from you. Like, I need feedback about this, or policy about that would make my job easier. Like, I think maybe we could look at it as an opportunity to say like, hey, clearly we like you guys, you're doing a good job. How can we work better together? Or how can we make this structurally work better? I think that would be more productive, positive, and less awkward.
Speaking of awkward, I don't want to put you on the spot, Steve, but I want to encourage you to participate in the discussion as well, and just, you know, voice any thoughts you might have. If you can pretend that we're not just kind of talking about the exact precise instance that we're referring to here, but in a kind of a bigger picture way, you know.
Yeah. I've used the form for the past 3 years as kind of just a boilerplate for Jen and I when we've sat down, and it's not terribly effective. I think it gives us a little bit of a place to kind of launch off from, and I'd be interested in looking at other formats for me to use when I'm interacting with Jen as well. But I've not had a review here before, so any kind of review I think would be appreciated and beneficial. And I'm not too worried about the way the message is delivered, in so much as I would like to know where people would like to see areas of improvement, or where they think that we could be doing things differently, if not better.
Steve, do you have like annual goals that you put out, or Because I know that's usually a part of my
I
review
have one
process.
annual goal, and that is to survive the year, and that is just a personal. That's just a personal goal. No, Brendan, I don't. I think there's merit to something like that as well.
Yeah, because that's how usually my annual reviews are. They're like, did you hit your goal?
Yep, you know, the other boards that I'm on with the executive directors, that's part of the review process as well. We've been doing that this year, and you know, with just the situation as it is in the Republic. I mean, the goalposts have been moved, so none of those goals that were things that we presented to other executive directors are going to be met this year. But I think that's I would like to see an element or elements of that in the review too.
Do we really have a minute left?
Yeah, what is that? Is that like a timer on this, or what is that?
Oh, gosh. Oh, Maggie, you have the, I think you have to transfer the administrative privileges over to Steve,
Uh-oh.
because I think it's reading your account as the, because I transferred privileges over to you after I put up the live stream. Oh, sorry about that. I figured we might have, you're also muted. I figured we might have.
Jared, do you mind talking me through that? Because I don't know how to do that.
Well, we might.
Or